Alright, let's do forms in HTML. Now, although I'm not going to show you how to actually process and collect that information that you get from your users, I'm just going to show you how to actually set up the framework in HTML. So you are going to see a form on the web page, but later on we'll find out, I'll show you how to actually process that information so that you can interact with the user. But as of right now, let's get that down. Alright, so for forms, we're going to utilize the forms HTML tag. So that is going to be form, and then let me put a bit of a gap there. Right, so we're going to put some stuff in here too. So to actually collect information, what are you getting from the user? You're getting some sort of input, and input is the HTML tag for setting up a text field within a form. Text field is when you type in information into like a text box, and then that's basically the aspect of the form that we're going to be talking about. So input, and the input type is going to be text. So we're getting text from the user. Now we give it some sort of an ID. Now an ID is meant for when we interact with the form in CSS and JavaScript. Again, this is sort of long-term thinking, but when we want to edit our form in CSS and JavaScript, we're going to have to use the ID tag to call upon this form. So specifically, we're going to be calling on this input text box. And we're going to set this ID as whatever we're going to get from the user. So I'm planning on maybe your name. So we're going to name it name. And then we also have to, well coincidentally, let me put full name because it's going to mess up with something that I'm about to do right now. Now we also have to name it. Now most of the time we name it the same thing. Now this is for when you were going to interact with it in PHP. Again, this is long-term thinking, but to actually process the information you're into like a database, for example, right, you're going to have to use this name attribute in order to call on it. So the ID is meant for CSS and JavaScript. Right, again, that's sort of just establishing how the website looks like and stuff, right, how it looks, how the form looks, while the name is meant for interacting with it, actually putting it within a database. And I'm simply just going to name it the same thing just for convenient purposes. All right, and then we should close it. And then let's put a line break, actually. Alright, now I'm going to do the same thing again because, I don't know about you, but a form doesn't just collect your name, right? It usually collects something with your name. So, again, we're going to do text. And then ID, this time I'm going to probably just get grade, as in like, your grade level. So, in that case, I'm going to put grade here, and then we're going to do the same thing for the name. So, again. Alright, and then let's do a line break after that. Alright, now if I put this onto the web page, right, you're going to just basically see two thingies here, two text fields here. Now that doesn't really make sense simply because you don't know what the hell you want in those fields, right? How's the user going to know what you know what you want from them, but they're not going to know what to actually input. So in that case, we have to use a label, and then the label allows us to actually put a label on the input, puts a label on the text field. So we do label for. Now, for is basically a way of contacting, or rather, matching our label to our text field. So, what is the name of our input? Now, it's all red because of the way I actually structured it. But again, once I close it, it's gonna go away. So the label is gonna be for this input, and this input is full name. So I'm gonna put it's for equal full name. Alright, and there you go. So we have a label here, and then we have a label here. Now the reason why we have two of them is simply because we're going to be putting text in here. So in this case, I'm going to put full name. Now this displays the text that's going to go onto the web page. Why isn't it not displaying this text over there? Because this is an ID. This is sort of the variable name that we use as programmers. but to actually get the text to actually label it for the consumer, that in person interacting with the website, we're going to have to use a label and then put the text ourselves. So full name and then colon. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Label. Now the label is for this input. This input is grade. That's the name of our input. So it's going to be for grade. And then we close it off. And then we say grade level. Alrighty. Let's see what we get here. Now we have full name, and then we have grade level. Now, what's interesting is that usually you'll have a form. If you want to have a form, you will likely have the text field underneath it. Now, there's no problem leaving it like this. There's no problem at all. But if you want to, like, have it more structured, I feel like it's more organized if it's like full name, line break, page break, and then text field, page break again, grade level, and then page break. So what we're going to do in that case, we're simply just going to add page break after that, and then we're going to do it after this thing. So it's going to be like, all right, put the label, page break, put the input, text field, page break, and then put the label, page break. And again, we could do that assuming that we have another label and we have another input. We can continue like that. I'm just going to leave it out for the last one for the sake of time. All right. There you go. So full name, grade level, full name, the text field, grade level, and then the text field. And then you could type stuff in here. So I put like Fozon, for example, and then grade level 12. Make sense? All right. And another way you can actually get information from your users is through like a multiple choice, sort of like a multiple choice question. It gives you a bunch of options, and then you select, well, rather the consumer selects what they want to input. So that is what you call in Java, HTML as a radio button. All right. So in this case, what we're going to do is instead of, we're going to still have input because we're getting input from our user. The type is now no longer text. The type is now radio. So again, that's what the name is. Now, you can have ID again, and then we can have, what are we going to name this? A good option would be maybe, let's say, favorite ice cream, or what ice cream you want to get. So I'm going to put vanilla. Again, we're going to utilize the name. Now, the difference here now is that when you're doing a form like this, there's going to be multiple radio waves. There's going to be, not radio waves, radio buttons, but they're all going to say the one thing. So let me give you an example. Within a multiple choice question, right, you have 5 options. There's no 2 answers, right? You can only select one. So we're going to name all the inputs that we have for the radio waves as the same name, but we're going to give it this different ID. Alright, so it all makes sense once we put it all together. So input type is equal to radio. The ID is going to be vanilla. Then the name is going to be, let's just put ice cream. Oh, not ice cream, ice cream. And then again, we're just going to name it. Not name it. The value is just going to be. Vanilla. So that's what's actually going to go there. Alright, we close the chevron bracket, and then it's getting a little bit congested. Let me just move it up a tad bit. Never mind, because it's not full yet. So what actually shows up? Well, we just get our radio wave, right? Now, what's missing here? Sorry, I keep saying radio wave, radio button. What do we get here? A radio button. So we can select on it, and then when there's a bunch of options, we can, select on it, that option as well. But how's the user supposed to know that this is vanilla, right? So again, we got to utilize the label. And the label is going to be, forgot my bracket. Label is going to be for equal vanilla. and then it's simply just gonna put vanilla. So now we're able to put that value on the radio button. Okay, so let's put multiple options. Actually, let me put a question so that users can know what they're doing. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? All right, so we get our question, and then we get our option. So let's get some more stuff here. All right, so I'm simply just gonna copy what I wrote, and then I'm gonna paste it, and then I'm gonna do it again. All right, so we already have this done, vanilla. Well, let's say we want a different option. Let's put chocolate then. All right, so instead we're gonna write chocolate, right? And then wherever it is, we have to change it, simply because we don't want it messing up with our program. So if I leave it like this, right, we have a value that's vanilla, but we have an ID that's chocolate. So when we're interacting with our form, when we're interacting with our CSS and JavaScript, when we're altering our text, it's going to ultimately, not be coherent. It's not going to be consistent, right, because we have different variables for the same thing. So our value is going to be chocolate again. Right, and again, it's going to still be ice cream, right, because that's the name that we put. It's going to all be under one form. All right, this is going to be for chocolate, and then we put chocolate here, and then let's give it another option. What's another flavor? Strawberry. Then we put strawberry here, and then we're going to put it for here. So again, I'm making sure that the ID and then value change when we put another input, and then when I'm putting the label, right, I have to make sure that it's for the right input. So if I left this as vanilla, the label would have gone to vanilla, right? We want it for strawberry, so we alter the for attribute for strawberry, and then we alter the text within strawberry, and then it should be good. Now again, we're having that issue, not necessarily issue, but we're having that thing where it's like, hey, let's put it all in one line, and the simple reason why is because I didn't put a line break. So in this case, we put a line break after the label, because it first the input comes first. You want to select this, right? You first want to select this, but then you want to put the text, right? It's not like, hey, you want to put the text first and then put the radio button. So that's going to go under the label, or right after the label, I'm sorry. BR, and then BR. And we should be chilling. All right, so what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Hey, it's vanilla. No, it's chocolate. No, it's nobody says strawberry. Vanilla. Now, wrapping it all together, what are we missing, right? Once your consumer or form taker is done, right, what are they going to actually do with that information, or once they're done with the form? Well, they want to submit it. So in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to add a submit button. Now, submit button is another type of input, because while your user's actually clicking the button telling the HTML web page, hey, I'm done with the form, I'm done, can you please send my information, right? Again, processing information is a completely different story within a database, but you're getting the basic framework. So in the basic framework, we're saying, hey, we're done with the form. That's all we're doing. So again, we put input, and then we put the type. Now in this case, the type is not a text. The type is not a text, nor is it a radio. In this case, it's going to be the submit button. Simple as that. So it should be easy to remember. Input type, submit. All right, and then our value is going to be submit. And then we simply, actually, let me make sure that this is capitalized. There you go. Now, again, I want to make sure that I don't have any issues with my line break. So Again, that's more for making sure it looks good, it looks formatted. And there we go, we get a submit button. Now what does the submit button do? Not really anything, to be honest. It could just refresh the page, right? So if I click, let's say if I click vanilla, it's just going to refresh the page because that's how it's default. That's the program. That's what the HTML does with a default submit button. Now what I could do theoretically is I can go to the first form tag that I have, right? And then I put the action attribute. And then with action attribute, sorry about that, my phone just rang. With the form attribute, what I can do is put action is equal to, and then this is how you actually send it to a different page. So we're going to be like, all right, send to action underscore page dot php. Now what it's going to do now is that it's going to actually send it to this page when it's done. So to basically wrap it up, right, to label text and to label our form, we use the label tag, the label HTML tag, and then we utilize for to sort of correspond or match it with its desired input. Now input is whatever you want to get the information from, and there's 3 inputs that we covered in this video. There was text, and we would put text right over here. We also put radio. Radio is the example that's on this video right now. And then there's the submit button. And then the submit button, what we do is we set the value to submit. It's simple as that. And the action, what it does is once the form is submitted, once the user collects this, it's going to go to this page. Or if you don't have it, if it's empty, it's just going to go to the default page. So sorry, not the default page. It's going to reset the page, and it's basically just going to be like, hey, just take the form again. And I hope this sort of covers the basic elements of a form. Thank you for watching.